Okay, so go ahead.
Okay. September 22nd, and it's 4:02.
Thank you, Renee. We have a quorum as noted. Tom Heathfield's joining us by Zoom. We do have a quorum. The meeting was posted on September 16th outside the main office by Mark. At this time, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay.
All right, at this time, I would look for a motion to approve the minutes from the September 8th Board of Directors meeting.
Make that motion.
Thank you, John, seconded by Jerry. Any discussion on these minutes? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries unanimously. Also approval of the July 28th Board of Directors meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Jody, seconded by Mark. Any discussion on these minutes? Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
And Tom?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
I keep looking for it.
All right. So moving along rapidly, this brings up Jody. Let me cue up your stuff. Jody, go ahead.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about both some updates to the community rules and regulations, along with just an update on the real estate policy and the accompanying forms. So I think what we're going to do first, guys, is we are going to we're going to go through the community rules and regulations, and then we'll make a motion to either approve or not those 4 minor changes that I'm going to be discussing. And then we can talk about the updated real estate policy and the accompanying forms. So with that, Scott, if you want to advance the slide, I'm going to be talking about just 4 either additions or revisions that have been added for consideration of inclusion into the community rules and regulations. The first one has to do with leasing and licensing of lots. And the only change is highlighted in red as number C, where it indicates that no home may be offered or advertised for lease or license for a lease term of less than 30 consecutive days. And this is an addition that's been recommended to be included after the community voted to amend the CC&R. I believe it was in either 23 or 24 to add that revision saying that not only are they allowed to be rented for less than 30 days, we also, the community voted to include the word advertising. And so because of that, we just thought it would be important for homeowners to be aware of that. We're trying to make things easier for people so that they understand this restriction. And this is just really is a restatement of CC&R 14.23.2. So that's the first edition. Scott, if you advance the slide. The next has to do with the fishing policy. And this policy was already in existence, but it's being revised as a result of a board discussion that we had in May of 25, so earlier this year, where Mark Forster suggested revising the language to, in the past, it had been that if you were going to fish here, that you were required to catch and release the fish. Going forward, the recommendation that was approved by the board after hearing a very nice discussion from Mark Forster now indicates that whether you're fishing from the boats, docks, or lands, that anglers shall follow the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation regulations. And that's also going to align with some new lake rules and regulations that I know Mark and the Lakes Committee are working on. So they'll be consistent between the two. But because we were updating a few of these other revisions to the community rules and regulations, we thought we'd put it in before Mark's group gets at it.
So this isn't the catch and release thing?
No, this is not catch and release.
This is
Now
Just saying we're gonna follow it.
you're going to follow what's in the fish and what the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission guidelines.
Thank you.
And then the last revision / addition to the community rules and regulations has to do with parking. And if you look at number 2, this is really just a revision that further clarifies how the community is defining overnight parking. And there was a lengthier descriptor in the previous rules and regulations. And for simplification, we're just now defining a vehicle parked overnight on a community street. That's the big important point. Any vehicle that's parked for a 4-hour or longer period, anytime between the hours of midnight and 6 a.m. will constitute overnight parking. And again, this only refers to parking on the streets. And then lastly is an addition as it relates to parking, and that is covers of any type or design shall not be placed on cars or any other vehicles parked in common areas or in a owner's driveway. And this is an added restriction to the current rules and regulations. If allowed, this would give the perception that people are storing things on their property, and that's something that is not really allowed in the community. So this just provides a little additional clarity. And that's all I have. Any questions from the board before we open it up to the community? Tom Heaslip?
No comment. No comment.
Thank you.
Sure. Just as a reminder for those who may not have been here, we are going to ask you to step to the microphone, say your name each time, and then go ahead with a comment if you'd like. Or question.
Dennis Lowe, Conoco. Just ask a question. Are cars on that are parked in your driveway during hurricane time?
I guess that's not something we had thought about.
I think you should. I think it's something that should be allowed to be allowed. It's a declaration that a hurricane's coming through.
We can take that under advisement, Dennis. I guess the only thing I would question you on, would there not be a concern that it would be blown off the vehicle?
It could be tied for good underneath the cars.
Okay.
You want to cover.
I guess I hear somebody in the front row asking, could you not put it in the garage?
Some people don't have room.
Okay, some people don't have room. Okay,
They talk one, they count on one.
okay.
Good question.
Good question. Any other comments? Well, for now, Dennis, what I'll do is I'm gonna make a motion that we approve them as is, but we will certainly discuss it. And these are always available for updating as things come up, but I will take it under advisement. Thank you.
I second that motion.
Right, so we have a motion from Jody to accept the 3 slides we just reviewed. John has a second. Discussion on the board, from the board? Tom, any comments?
No comments.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
That passes unanimously. Thank you, Jody.
Okay.
Now for the reading test.
Yeah. So I apologize for those on Zoom. People in the room actually have the handouts. But this is just an update of the Community Association real estate policy. And honestly, this policy hasn't been updated in over 5 years. And the changes that are included in this document are really administrative in nature. Just as an example, And it used to say HOA office, now it says QCA office. The one thing that I know that there's a couple of realtors in the room. In the past, it said that it only allowed 2 green and tan signs to be placed for open houses. That's now been updated to allow for 3 signs whenever you're having an open house, because we know you need 1 sign just near the gate to tell you to either go straight or take a left onto Weatheredstone Drive. But for the most part, it's really just been simplified and standardized language to align with descriptors that are in the CCNRs. Accompanying this real estate policy, it does make reference to a couple of additional items. The first is an intent to sell and or lease property. And for the most part, again, this is really just, the changes are administrative in nature. For example, Maria's name was included at the top because when people fill out a form, they need to know who they should give it to. So Maria's our office manager in the QCA office. Instead of saying listing agent, we simply remove the word listing and it just says agent's name, agent's company, etc. The one addition that's new to this form from the previous form is located at the bottom, where it notes that there are 3 new advisory statements. The first one is an important one for anybody who's thinking of leasing their property. And that is, if you lease your home, you are not able to utilize the beach club or amenities during the terms of the lease, unless of course you own another property in the quarry. And that's consistent with CCNR 4.2. I don't think a lot of people realize that's in there, but it actually is. The second administrative advisory to an owner who's leasing their house speaks to the definition of the quarry shuffle. So an owner who currently owns 1 home, sells it in the community, but may not have purchased another home as of that time. It talks about the time frame between when you must purchase your second home in order to be eligible for the shuffle, and how the resale fee needs to be paid versus refunded. And again, that's all consistent with the provisions in CCNR 12.2 and 12.14. And then lastly, this actually came up, we had some discussions about this recently, and that has to do with if you are planning to lease your home specifically, you must notify the association office at least 20 days prior to the lease commencing. And that's consistent with 14.23.2. It's in our governing documents. We didn't just arbitrarily pick this date of 20 days. And then,
Another question.
sure.
So it says sells their home within 1 year. Should we be specific at close? The home closes. I'm not a legal real estate person, but I sold it, but until I close, it's not sold? Or is that clarification needed?
Yeah, so in order to, the chair recognizes the gentleman standing if he'd like to come to the microphone and introduce himself. Actually, you're the chair. I'm just running the meeting.
I'm just the secretary.
Sure, back. The CCOs are very specific, talks about transfer or recordation of title. This is an administrative form as opposed to the.
Okay.
Gotcha. Perfect. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Dr. Schobert.
And then the last form is for people who, again, are planning on leasing their property, leasing their home. And again, per the CCNR, they talk about a home is a house, a condo. I know that was something that came up. But we've always had an application to lease at the quarry. And again, that's specified as being required in CCNR 1423.12. excuse me, 2. But the only change on this form is it's actually, believe it or not, been simplified. So the person, the tenant and lease information is included at the top. The bottom would be the person who is leasing their home would fill that out. And again, this is the form that should be submitted 20 days prior to leasing your home. And the only other change to this form is, in the past, there was $100 processing fee, and now the processing fee is $200. For those that aren't aware, Maria in the HOA office, or the QCA office, excuse me, she has a lot of work to do when somebody comes in to lease their home. You know, she might set up a Jonas account with them so that they can utilize the beach club and just charge it like we all do as homeowners. They might have to buy wristbands that she has to set up to activate and deactivate depending upon the terms of the lease. Same thing with the transponder for their cars. So there's a lot of work that's involved in the processing of someone who leases their home. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Jody, for that report. And I know, thank you very much for working on these documents to make sure they are correctly noted in our governing documents. And anyone else that may have worked on them, say, for instance, Tom Schoback, thank you.
Yes, I will tell you, there is no board liaison to some of these documents, but Tom Schoback is the chair of our governing documents, and he keeps us all on our toes, thankfully and gratefully. And we are grateful for that. But I somehow or other, I guess as the secretary, tend to be the default when these things come up in terms of updating. But we couldn't do it without Tom's wavering support. So thank you, Tom.
All right, at this time, we're going to move on to number 6, discussion of kayak paddleboard usage at the quarry. And after 1 second that I missed, yes.
We do have to make a motion to adopt the changes to the real estate policy as well as the accompanying form. So with that, I'd make a motion to adopt the policy. And
Renee, thank you, Jody, for the motion. Renee seconds. Further discussion? Tom, further discussion?
No discussion.
All right, with that, may I have a vote? Yes, we have, we'll recognize someone from the audience.
Discussion council to the QC office and subsequent the access control. And there's been some hiccups in that process. And my discussion with you, I took vacation that week. It was to make the city professionals copy the access control gate. So considered and discussed.
Currently not in this form, Cheryl. Again, Maria's back today, so we're looking to see where those emails go.
Are there any other questions from the audience?
All right, hearing none, may I have a vote to approve, please? All those in favor? And Tom?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. All right, now we'll move on to number 6, discussion of the kayak paddleboard usage at the quarry.
Okay,
Mark, I think you're leading this.
back on May 24th, there was an incident here at the quarry where a minor resident invited 2 guests to join him on the kayaks at the quarry. And they had open access to the kayaks. They took them out. One of the individuals overturned a kayak and was in the water, was unable to reboard the kayak. There were not adequate life preservers for all 3 individuals. And this could have resulted in a tragic incident and potentially a very serious lawsuit. At that time, Tom Schoback again asked us, questioned how access to the kayaks was going to be controlled. It was pretty much open access. It could have been deemed potentially negligent and exposed us to punitive damages here at the quarry. Initially, it was unclear of how adequate control would be achieved, and the Lake Committee voted to have the kayaks, to eliminate the kayaks here at the quarry. It's my duty as the liaison to the Lake Committee to share that with you. In further discussion with the board and with Scott, we came up with some procedures that I believe that would be adequate to make sure we had proper control of the kayaks here at the quarry. And I'm going to outline that briefly. No one under 14 use a kayak. Anyone less than 18 must be accompanied by someone at least 18 and a resident of the quarry. Individuals must present valid identification to the office. All users 18 sign the kayak waiver. The kayak waiver really hasn't been utilized in the past. Anyone less than 18 must have a parent sign the waiver. There was no provision on the waiver for that. If a 17-year-old would sign the waiver as it exists right now, it would not be valid. Peter Reitz, who's the chair of the Lake Committee, an attorney and someone who has defended many accidents, has volunteered to rewrite the kayak waiver to have a provision in there for parents to sign on behalf of children. Access to the paddle and life preserver shed will be restricted to specific individuals that complete the above requirements. The access bracelets will be utilized to allow them to get into the shed to get the paddles and the life preservers. Kayaks will be locked up with a cable and a combination, and individuals would be given the combination to that so they could access. They would be required to lock them up when they're done. Of course, personal flotation devices must be worn using quarry kayaks. This kayak use agreement may include additional terms and requirements. So that's going to be rewritten, and we will present that to the community to ensure that we have adequate control over the kayaks, so incidents like this don't happen in the future.
So currently, are we doing anything? Are we allowing it stopped until we get this done?
It's all been locked down. There has been no one utilizing, Scott, I believe that's correct. No one has used a kayak. No one has even requested to use a kayak since the incident.
Mark, when are you planning on presenting what you just presented for approval?
Well, I talked about it at the time. We're sure if this needs to be voted by the, by the board. I'm thinking that when the kayak agreement is revised, at that time, the board could approve it and we could move forward at that time.
You change your rules, your lake rules and regs then?
The lake rules are almost completed. Peter Reitz would like to be in attendance when they're presented to the community so he can answer any questions, and we're just trying to find a date when he can be in attendance. I believe our next meeting is the
Town hall.
town hall, which is probably not the time to bring this up.
I have a question about the waiver. Is this a one-time use? Or do I sign a waiver and I can take them out at any time?
Well, to see what we come up with as the waiver agreement, but I would think it would be, once you're signed up, I would think that would be adequate for going forward.
But you still check them out through the HOA office?
Yes, absolutely.
No.
No. So I believe, Mark, what we discussed is that once you complete the waiver is in existence for as long as you're an owner here at the quarry. Then what Maria does, or we essentially activate the wristband, just as if you have a boat in the boat storage area trailer, you have access to that one amenity. And that's how you would gain access.
Well, the current agreement requires essentially you put your driver's license or identification card as a deposit to use it when you use it. So that will be something that will be addressed in the revised kayak waiver.
Because the HOA office is open from Monday through Friday, correct?
Yes.
So if I sign this usage, I can still use a kayak on Saturday and Sunday.
We'll see what the terms are when we revise this waiver, and then we'll present it to the committee for approval, and that is one of the issues that needs to be addressed in that case.
So do we have to do anything?
No, I don't believe we need to take any
No.
act.
Well, good.
A couple months out, in other words.
Mhm.
The next item on the agenda is in regard to the fish attracting structure and
Mark, excuse me, 1 second. Mark, do you have a question from me?
Yes, no, apologies, you might have to repeat it, I don't know if they're gonna be able to hear me. Steve Bean asked the question as to, if the situation occurred as it did before with the minors. Even if a parent of the Corey child gives their signature, what about the minors' guests? And that's the second question here is, their parents may not be around, so I am guessing the minor friends would not be able to be on the kayak unless that guest child's parent is around the sign, correct?
that would be correct.
Thank you, Mark. Any other questions?
That's it, thank you.
So just to repeat, for those of you at home, I know you're having trouble hearing from one of them, but the question was, what happens if one of our owners' children have other minor guests? Will they be required to sign a waiver? And the answer was yes, that is the current thinking of Mark and the Lakes Committee.
Yes.
All right, Mark?
Then it was about the fish attracting structure. And the Corner CDD is currently reviewing it, and we need to get their response before we address this, so that will be postponed to the next meeting.
All right. Now we are on to Jerry is going to present a resolution for deposit and investment of funds.
Okay, we're just cleaning up some documentation. So we're going to make a resolution approving the deposit and investment of our operating funds and any other cash we have, whether the reserve funds or security deposit funds. You have it up there? No.
I do not.
Okay, that whereas pursuant to the governing documents of the Quarry Community Association, the association through its board of directors is responsible to preserve and enhance the value, desirability, and attractiveness of the association's property. Whereas the board of directors has determined it is in the best interest of the association and its owners to confirm the action of prior boards of directors who established depositories and to authorize the deposit of association funds in such accounts as may be selected by the board of directors, including without limitation checking and savings accounts in one or more banks, certificates of deposit, U.S. Treasury bills, and/or money market accounts with an investment firm or firms. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Directors of the Quarry Community Association that the aforementioned authorizations and procedures are approved for implementation. So I move we approve this.
Thank you for that motion. Do I have a second?
A second.
Okay, John seconds. Any questions or discussion on this?
Just as an explanation for the audience, we are limited. The only place we put our cash is no risk, all FDIC insured or backed by the US government with treasuries. So we're not buying crypto. We're not investing in the stock market. We're not doing options trading.
Video today.
So don't worry about that.
Yeah. All right. Tom, do you have any questions?
No questions?
All right. Hearing no further questions on the subject. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. With that, we'll move on to the 2026 budget discussion and project list review led by Jerry Solomon, our treasurer.
I'm going to try to make this simple. What? Yeah. I'm going to try to make this simple. How many were at the last meeting we had? Raise your hands. Yeah, most of you. I see familiar faces. So I'm not going to go through the slide deck. However, if anyone has a question on a specific topic that's in the slide deck, I'll be glad to address it. Okay. So at the last meeting, we had some action items. We have a lot of discussion at the last meeting, and the board has continued to discuss that via email. We cannot meet on it. You'll see shortly, no decisions have been made. We can't do that. We got the August financials, and Scott and the team updated the full year forecast. And the good thing is the full year forecast, no meaningful change from last time. So at this meeting, what we have to do is provide final direction to Scott and his team. Here's where we want the budget to end up. So that's what we're looking at. Okay. We left the last meeting, Scott had presented a budget with a target increase of 2.5%. Plus the projects got it to 2.5. Total was 2.5%. With the projects. We talked about reserve items, and the one thing we didn't talk about was the sugarcane mosaic virus, because Renee is going to do that. So any of these budget discussions does not incorporate the sugarcane mosaic virus till we hear from Renee. So as far as the budget itself, I'll start the discussion, and then the board could debate it, and then we'll take questions from the audience. My personal recommendation is that we should lower the increase from 2.5% to 0.5%. I'd like to see 2% come out of the proposed budget, which is each 1 percentage point is $80,000. So I'd like the spending to come down or the revenue to go up, some combination thereof, 160,000 to the better. The reason I say that is, if you recall the discussion last time, we had about 4 percentage points, or 320,000 were due to a lot of programs for food and beverage. So without that 4%, we would be at 1.5% reduction. I'm doing what Solomons do. I'm splitting the difference. And I'm saying that, you know, the staff could try some programs, but not all of them. Personally, I think the most important thing we could do to get people to come to the restaurant is focus on service, consistency, and quality. And every dollar should be spent to make that happen first. And then in all my years of industry, I've learned first you stabilize something, then you standardize, and then you improve it. And I don't think we have stabilized yet because we haven't proved during the busy season that we could handle a high number of a la carte patrons. And I'd like to see that happen first before we put on a whole host of programs that each one could argue that they have merit, but too many, too quick, without establishing the service that our residents expect, to me, could just be asking for more problems. So that is what my recommendation is regarding that. In terms of the projects to be included, I have no problem with any of the projects except for the trap gate. I just think the trap gate's going to lead to a lot of additional things. When we had a trap gate before, it didn't work. People drove through it. We had a lot of repairs and maintenance. I see the trap gate leading to the next request. Let's man it 24/7, 365, which will be another $180,000. And the biggest complaint that personally I hear and people tell me about are trespassers that aren't using the trap gate. They're the kids coming in on their bicycles or their hoverboards or things like that. I'm personally, and a lot of people that I've spoken to outside the board don't see a need for the trap gate. So that would be the one thing that on the project I personally would recommend taking off. Let me see if I have anything else in my notes. The one thing, though, that I do agree we should add is, I think you said there was $70,000 you added to the budget for increased in-season labor to focus on the service side, which I wholly support. I want to see that service improve. That to me has been the biggest complaint, both from friends and personally. So that's what I'm going to throw out on the table for the board to start digging in and have at it to see some other views, but that's my view.
Where do you want me to go?
Go ahead, and I'll follow you.
So I actually agree with Jerry in a lot of fronts. I could go with a 1% increase, which is just slightly more than Jerry. I'm not going to say anything different from what I said at the last meeting. I think a number of the food and beverage programs that Scott put in place look interesting, but I'm of the mindset that we have done a real lot for this community, to this community, and for owners over the last number of years, the last couple of years since the restaurant has opened. We have an incredible wellness facility. And I think there's a lot of emphasis right now on, beefing up food and beverage, and that's where a lot of the increases are being proposed. I agree. I think we should perhaps pause just a little bit and focus again on the service, the consistency, because that's what we heard. I think the team has made they've made tremendous strides over the summer, but there's a big difference between perhaps servicing 8 tables in the dining room and maybe 10 tables out in the patio over the course of 3 hours in the evening versus the crush that sometimes occurs in the winter time. I'll tell you, I know that Scott's got some great programs in there, but I'm also worried that some of them that extend throughout 25, I'm not even sure they're budgeted in 25, but I'll let Scott speak to that. And I worry that things that aren't budgeted in this year, that if we keep spending, I worry that that projected 145 that we're forecasted to end up with may dwindle, because what we've learned over the past number of years is typically as things come in at the end of the year, new things pop up that we don't expect. We're still in hurricane season right now. We have 100,000 of that 145,000 is contingency for the unexpected, like a hurricane. So I just think we should perhaps pause just a little bit in some of the aggressiveness of the number of programs, the ones that have already started. I'm not a fan of discontinuing something that's only been recently started. I think we should perhaps go ahead with those, but it's really up to Scott to decide which programs he wants to go with. But between new projects and the food and beverage, I'd like to see everything level out at a total of about 1%.
Okay.
Mhm.
I don't think I'm gonna change much from what I said last time, and that is, I thought we should hold it flat. I don't think we need to increase 2.5 because I think we've already brought in an additional 8%. So we're really talking about a 10.5% increase. We made promises, I think, to get the vote for the resale fee to owners, that we would really try to hold this tight, and I really believe we should. And like both my esteemed members before me, I agree that we should focus on delivering this year, and it's about good food, really good service, and then that quarry friendly, that great environment we've always enjoyed at our facilities. I commend Scott and his team on what they've done to get the owner satisfaction back up. It really means a lot. I just think we're going too far too fast. And I understand. I mean, I say flat. I'm not fighting a half. I'm not saying where exactly it should be, but my personal opinion is I'd like to see it flat. I still have some questions as I went through the budget. I actually, just so you all know, we really didn't see this till last meeting. So over the last week, I probably spent 10 hours looking at this budget and looking with a fine tooth comb with some of the things that bothered me. And I understand a lot better, and I appreciate the work that was done, but like, there's no clearness around, and I'll use one that the owner experience committee has been working on, which is wedding and large events. I can't figure out what we're actually planning on revenue. I see some line items about what we're going to spend and expenses for advertising, but I'd like to understand things like that, because at some point, if we're going to do things like that, that should help us. So another thing I think was good. I also, when it gets to what Jerry brought up about the trap gate, our committee has spent a lot of time on access control this summer. For God's sakes, I must have walked those bushes a gazillion times trying to figure out, and we made some changes and we've slowed it down, but there's still some we know we've got to make. We've got a very easy access at the front gate. We probably need some sort of fence there to prevent them from, because they're circumventing the gate by going behind a hedge. And we try to put something there, it's not slowing them down. So we need some money for access control. We haven't defined it, and I will disagree with Jerry very strongly. We still have a problem at our back gate. My wife was followed in 2 times by people. One of them followed her all the way back to the house. And she drove directly in the driveway and was looking for me. You know, I mean, that's not right. You know, we need better control at our back gate. It isn't just the kids. We've got people coming in there that shouldn't be coming in. I don't think the trap's probably the best solution. I don't know the solution right now. Our committee meets, the owner acceptance or experience committee meets tomorrow. We're gonna talk about it again, but we're looking for a better solution than that. But I don't want to take that money away. It's only 18 grand. For God's sakes, if we need to put up a couple fences, we need to put in some more bushes, we need to improve our control around the property, I think we should have the money to do it.
John, just let me, for clarification, I don't want to interrupt everyone going, but the trap gate on the project list is 18.5, Scott. The budget has, I believe,
31,000.
31,000. What is the difference
Uh,
for?
Difference is an updated proposal at that 18.5 I was able to get it to.
But there are other things we gotta do, is what I'm saying. I don't know the totals. And if you guys tell me, I need to go with 20, I mean, I don't know the answer on this yet, but I feel like taking it all out's the wrong answer. We need some money.
John, can I ask a question for clarity?
Yes, sir.
So you said that you would look for it to be flat, and I just want to understand what to be flat. The overall budget going to a 0 increase, or the food and beverage subsidy staying flat to this year? Because that would be 2 different numbers. The food and beverage subsidy is 4%, an increase of 4%. So if that stays flat, we'd actually get to a negative
Right.
subsidy reduction. So when you say can you just clarify when you say flat, just where the puts and takes would be?
So I think we do need some money for food and beverage, and I agree with somebody else just said it, and that is about labor. I think one of our downfalls last year is we staff up so many, they've got to get trained, they don't get trained properly, and we went through a terrible period last year. We lost some employees, but our others that filled in weren't ready. And we've got to do a better job at that, and I think Scott needs money to hire a bit earlier and to bring on the staff that we need to get us through the season. So that part, in my assumption, that's what I'm leaving in. Does that make sense?
It does, and for clarity for everybody, and Jerry, correct me if I'm wrong. If we were to go from the current 2.5% down to the flat that John is suggesting, that would still allow for a minor increase, 120,000 or so. If everything else is equal, the food and
Correct.
beverage could go up 120,000.
Correct.
Now, if we have to find money for more for access control, other things, then we have to find places to get that from. But that math is correct, Jerry?
That math is correct, but I
Okay.
want to check some other math, Scott. So are you saying the 31,000 that's currently in the budget for 26,
Yeah.
the proposed budget, it should really be 18.5?
No, 18.5 is in the budget.
No. No, it's 31,000.
It's 31.
It's 31, I looked it up. You got 18,250 in February, and then you've got a couple more entries, bringing it to 31,000 for 26.
Okay, for the next round of numbers and fine tune, we'll get it at 18.5. There's, I don't want to minimize 13,000, but there's going to be a lot of puts and takes in the 13,000 range that's not going to be a deal breaker in any of this.
Anybody else want to chime in, Mark?
Well, I just think that I want to commend Scott and the Corey Food and Beverage team for the progress they've made. I mean, it's very obvious, the scores and the summer and everything. But I agree with Jerry, in the future, going forward, it's about the quality of the food and experience, and I don't believe we need to lower the prices and provide all these incentives to get people in here. It's an issue of, food cost is a very important component of the whole picture. And as I understand, last month, food was 81% of the restaurant. So You know, controlling food and labor costs for the restaurant are one of the key issues for the whole core budget.
I have a comment. Last year I was in the audience at the town hall meeting and, I clearly heard that with the resale fees and some of the extras that we would have in the 26 budget, we could be promised a flat at best budget or slightly negative. So I think 2.5 is far from that. I don't know the right number. Maybe it's 1. But clearly, I think we have to go back to our roots and what we were promised, because everything we said came forward. The resale came forward, some of the other monies, and so we had a little cushion going into 26. So I'd like to be truer to those words.
Me. I agree completely with what Pam just said. We did make those promises. We did, as a board, also make some changes this year that we hadn't budgeted for and with votes and opening Sundays and things. So I think we should really pause. And make sure we make very measured decisions and try to stay, as Pam said, true to what we promised in the beginning. How we get there and what that number is, it's a little difficult for me to say where that's got to be. And we have to look at each one of the things, but it's not for lack of all the work and everything that Scott and his staff has done. I mean, they've done a tremendous job. I want to see that consistency this fall and then in season. And then I think we could maybe make some leaps into some additional things. But that's kind of the way I feel right now.
Tom?
Yes, the first thing I want to address is those last 2 comments. We showed the slide last time and we pulled it out again in the last month when the resale fee was pitched. We showed exactly what was to happen, which meant we were going to have an 8 to 10% increase in assessments if we didn't pass the resale fee. If we passed the resale fee, the projection that we committed to the community was we would be somewhere between -1, meaning a 1% reduction in assessments and a 2% increase. And that was the exact slide that we showed, and we showed it last meeting. It's probably buried in this deck, but so to me, the commitment to the community was -1 to 2%. And I feel like we're using those funds in this budget for the most part. We're using those funds exactly as we had pitched, which is we're going to limit increases for sure, and we're adding back some areas that we really feel are important for us to fund. For example, the food and beverage subsidy, some of the projects we're talking about in some other areas. So now I think the question is, if that's the basis, is where are we between a -1 and a 2%? I think I'd be looking to come in at about the 1 to 1.5% range as an increase. I would take the majority of that, if not all of it, out of the food and beverage subsidy, which would be, if we come down 1.5%, that would be about $120,000. So it would take the 2.5 down to 1. It's about $120,000 into the budget or from the food and beverage subsidy. I think there are some other puts and takes that we still have to figure out in there. But again, I think those are more rounding errors. I do think it's important to, I'm going to echo what some people said. I think I agree with everything that was said with regards to Jerry saying stabilize. And I think we're all in sync with how fast maybe this is coming at us with all these programs. And I think my perspective would be, I would want to hold back a little bit in the main season from January to March. And the reason is, I think if we over program and we fall behind, we won't catch up the rest of the year. And I think that's my big fear. We've run into that before. Certainly last year was like that. We dug ourselves a hole. We just never got out of it all year, and we ended up with a deficit. So I think the approach needs to be, I like most of the programs that were proposed. I don't want to everyone's going to have different favorites and ones they think should be cut. And I'll leave that up to Scott and the restaurant staff to figure out which ones work the best. But I do think we have to go into this season with a little bit of room to maneuver. And if everything is delivering labor costs, inflation and everything else as we go, and there's room for programs, we can do what we want to do in March, April, May, without digging ourselves too big a hole. So I think that's my perspective. So if to get down to the number, I would be targeting 1 to 1.5% in this budget, with about 120 coming out of the food and beverage subsidy that we're talking about, or other places. I mean, again, I think there's going to be other puts and takes that we'll see between now. We still have the town hall to go through. We're going to hear from a lot of the community then, but I think that gets us in the aggregate. I think it gets us right into the right zone, and it's only fine tuning from there.
Yeah, one question. I don't disagree with anything you say, but it does lead me to a question. If we delay programs and we have a good first quarter, which by the way is about 50% of our revenue for the year, and people are happy, then what's the purpose of the programs? In other words, if we deliver in the first quarter and we're doing a heck of a good job, then I question why you need so many programs. If we don't deliver in the first quarter, I'm certainly not looking at programs in addition. My other fear is we have, everyone looks at me and I'm all about the dollars and cents, but that's not the case. I'm not quibbling over 0.5%, 1%, $80,000. It's, I want to get the service right. And we have a lot of new employees that come on that are seasonal, and just getting the basics right, I think we're going to overwhelm them with so many new programs at once. When I just want to come in the restaurant, be seated, tell me what the specials are, bring my food in the proper order, execute on all those fundamentals, I'll be one happy camper. Okay? And then the question is, what do you have to do to make me even happier? Are any of those things going to make me any happier if I have a good experience on the fundamentals? It's just not going to do much for me. Everyone has their own opinion, but that's where I'm coming from. So it's not about the dollars and cents, which I do try to protect for the community. It's anything but. I want to do the right dollars and cents to give everyone the best service they could get. But that's where I'm coming from.
Yeah, Joe, we've talked about this before. I don't disagree that service needs to be improved. I just continue to think there were more people at the town hall and other places complaining about the menu and the quality of the food as well. And whether that's programs, whether that's just fixing some situations in the kitchen, whether that's expansion of the menu, whether that's some of the specialty nights that we're talking about. I don't want to, I agree with you, service is an issue. I still think if you fix service and we didn't improve on the menu offerings, the quality of the specials and some other things, we're still going to hear it. And as we should. There was clear feedback that the menu hadn't changed, that there was too much of a basic offering and not enough of a high-end offering. And I do want to find a way to address that. And again, some of the addressing can be in pricing. It's one of the things we're really not getting into the weeds on here is the cost of goods percentages and everything else. And maybe part of what we need to do is offer some of those, higher end, nicer foods, but make sure they're also properly covered when it comes to cost of goods percentages.
Okay, everyone on the board has spoken. Scott, I'm sure you're chomping at the bit.
From Mark.
He
Yeah,
did.
he did. I'm sure you're chomping at the
What was
bit.
Mark's number?
I got one for everyone but Mark. I don't know what he gave. Mark, did you give a number?
Did I?
You said I agreed with Jerry, didn't you?
No, I think 1.5% is a reasonable number for going forward.
Thank you. Do you mind if I address?
No, that's what I said. I said you're probably chomping at the bit.
No, so a little bit of background is, our team was asked to present a budget for operations that includes reserves as well as the capital project assessment for a 1% increase over the budget last year. We presented that about a month ago or so. So we've been refining that. Our team looked at it very carefully, each line item, and, that's what the board had directed us to do. This morning, I heard that there was probably going to be some different things. Jerry was kind enough to give me a heads up this morning. So as far as addressing what things at a no percent increase, 1.5%, 1%, 0.5% increase, I really can't do that in 8 hours. So I need some time in order to go back and look at it. And I appreciate the time that we'll have. We have a budget finance meeting on Thursday. I'm sure we'll delve into that. So I have 48 hours to put those numbers together. Generally speaking, I'm certainly not pleased when we presented a very tight budget, in my opinion, to the board, and the board comes forward and wants me to remove another $160,000 out of it. I will go back to the team. We'll make sure we hit those budgets as we've been asked for. So with that, I don't think I have any other comments until we get to the finance meeting, and then we get to of course, the town hall. So.
Can I go now? Thank you.
Don't get so close to the mic. We're hearing people are having trouble when people come up there, and I think we hear the echo. If you just back up a little, Steve.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The reality is that people are not going to go to the beach club more than once or twice a week. You can get great food downtown during the season, during the off season. I love to go to Pazos. How many times am I going to go to Pazos? Seriously. We have a beach club now that's losing $300,000, $360,000 plus a year on food and beverage. I understand. Is that correct?
No, it's not correct. The right number we do it in terms of per door, but it's over $1 million. It could be, depending on where we settle, it could be $1.1 million, it could be $1.3 million, it could be $1.4 million.
That's what we're losing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which let me put that.
How do you sustain that?
I just heard
It's
some.
unsustainable though.
No, Steve, let me address it because I saw moans and groans in the audience, and we go through this a lot. That is typical of any golf club or HOA. Food and beverage is an amenity. There are so many things we do here that a restaurant, your Pazos or whatever, doesn't do. They have limited hours.
I understand.
So I just want to put that when people do, we
I
will never
understand.
be a profitable restaurant unless
I'm
we
not
curtail
looking
a lot.
I understand that about HOAs and golf clubs.
Okay.
My understanding is that we have 900 homes. 300 of those homes spend less than $100 each per year in the beach club, in the restaurant. Another 300 homes. That's
the information I put out at the last meeting that has been updated, and I'll share that with you.
Oh.
Yeah, that's the correct number.
Oh.
It's in the packet, isn't it? What's the correct number? Last one, also said,
Can you step back just 6 inches? Step back, please. Thank you.
last meeting, you also said that 300 spend less than $200.
Again,
Ignore that data. It's been updated.
What's the data?
We questioned it after the last meeting and the team went back. So Scott has new data.
You don't know what the data is?
No, he has it. He'll share it.
What are those numbers?
You have it on the slide?
I can look it
Okay.
up, but I have to get out of this launch.
The bottom line is what I'm here about is you mentioned golf clubs. Every golf club that has a restaurant, probably every HOA or community that has its own restaurant has a minimum. $500 per person minimum gets you over $200,000 a year into your coffers. People buy into this place because of the beach club. They buy in because of the pickleball and the tennis and the bocce and the wellness center and the restaurant. And there is no reason, I don't understand why people wouldn't want to spend $500 per year as a minimum. That also gets people to come in. All this stuff about the new programs and all that, you're right. It doesn't do anything. You got to have the basics, but you got to get people to come in. So it doesn't matter what's going on if you don't get the people to come in. And that's why I think that a minimum should be considered by the board, because I think it's important. I think and every place else has a minimum. I don't understand why we don't. It's totally going to year.
I'll address that, but I want to hear other comments first.
Sorry. What is Dr. Herbert Gates? or
Herbert
something?
Gates.
Any other comments? Any audience comments? Okay.
There is a hand up online.
I think that it may be beneficial to explain that the subsidy, because I think a lot of people, when they hear subsidy, they're thinking minimum, that the subsidy represents what portion of our dues go to support the restaurant operations, right? So of our, let's say $10,000.
$10,000, roughly 10 to 15%.
Right. And, you know, we're at this long enough that, yeah, this can't be compared to a regular restaurant. You know, as you said, you're only going to come here X amount times per week, but it's not open to the general public. It's only these people within the gates and their friends. So it can't be compared. I know when I was on the board, you know, so many people would explain that dissatisfaction about, oh, hand it over to me. I can run this restaurant better. I'll make money. No, it doesn't make money. All the benchmarking studies say it's an amenity. The key is operating it efficiently. So I support what the board said about the increase. I think you should keep it in that 1.5% range, simply because my word was on the line too when we said if we get this resale fee passed and barring any unforeseen circumstances, this is what the increase should be, and we need to stick to that.
Slide if you want me to put it up.
Let me get some. Any other comments?
Line maybe?
I think we have one online, Jerry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, she hands up, I have Cheryl's hand up. Cheryl, are you?
You know, promoter, so she can talk.
Ask her to unmute, not getting anything that's. I also have a couple of questions. I have 3 different homeowner questions here. I'll just read those. Scott Vines wrote, Jerry, are those opinions or recommendations? Or are they your opinions or recommendations, or are they from the finance committees? Or are they ones and the same? Meaning, are you the finance committee is the question here.
At this point, what I said in terms of what I did, that was my personal opinion. Okay. As they said, what the finance committee is going to meet again on Thursday. Scott, I'm sure, you know, and the finance committee will go through that again. The finance committee had put forth a recommendation of a 1% increase. As I recall, someone here from the finance committee, Rich, you here? Didn't the finance committee recommend 1%? Rich here?
I think so.
Yes.
Rich wasn't at that meeting.
Oh, okay. I don't see anyone else from the finance committee here. Okay, what was the other question, Mark?
And Lois and Fred Montlander, budget increase recommendations. Can the board members please confirm if you are proposing an increase from the 2025 budget, or are you really suggesting an 8% plus increase, offset by the one-time windfall of $635,000? I understand the project recommendations, but 8% seems high. Perhaps there should be some cost reduction proposals.
Okay, just to clarify, depending on who in the board you listen to, but I'll just make it simple. The promise that was made, the numbers that were shared, if they came true, including the rollover, has an 8% impact. So in the absence of those events, in the absence of the resale fee, whatever numbers we give you would have been 8% higher. So in effect, we're living up to the promise that we made that it'll be much lower than it would normally be because of these one-time beneficial windfalls or whatever you want to call it. So you can look at it however you want. 0% equals 8%, 1% equals 9%, but that's where we are. This is the only year this is going to happen unless we raise resale fees again, but there isn't anything in the hopper for that. Hopefully, I'm answering the question.
I think there was first part of the question, Jerry, is what's the budget increase from 2025 budget or 2025 budget to 2026 budget? And that's what the board is just discussing.
That's what we're discussing. Scott and the internal team proposed a 2.5% increase. The board is debating what direction to give him because we have now in the town hall to lock it up, because when we do the town hall, we hand out line by line, everything, and that's the budget the board is moving forward with. Unless we hear something, a great idea at the town hall or overwhelming objections to it. So that's what we're trying to do, to give Scott and the team time between now and then to finalize line item by line item and meet the objective the board provides to Scott and the team.
Next question is from Ron Stryker. What has been the profit resulting from keeping the Beach Club restaurant open on Sundays during the summer? If a loss, then I would think the board should keep it closed during that period in 2026, rather than succumbing to local minority.
Without being a wise guy, the reality is the food and beverage operation loses money every day of the year. That's a fact. On Sundays, correct me if I'm wrong, we're probably losing maybe between 1,000 and 1,300 or 1,400 each Sunday. It's in that ballpark, depending how many people come. But again, if we're losing 7 figures, we're losing money every day, okay? Even in the busiest days, which we'll get back to your question on the minimum shortly and how that comes into play. But go ahead, Susan.
Hi, Susan Goff. So I've been here a really long time, 15 years, and I remember when we had no amenities at all. I'm very comfortable thinking of food and beverages as an amenity because it is an amenity, and I don't expect it to make money, and I do expect that it will lose some money. I don't play tennis, well, my husband does, but it's an amenity. I'm glad we have it. I never use it. I don't play pickleball. I don't use the lake. And I don't use the gym, I'm embarrassed to say. I'm really happy that we have all of those amenities, because I can tell you, for the first 5 or 6 years that we lived here, I don't think we knew a dozen people. And now the lifestyle, the amenities that we have here, we have probably hundreds of friends. They may not admit it, but we did. So, I mean, I just want to say that I think we need to look at food and beverage more as an amenity. I'm not objecting to minimums or anything like that. I hear what Steve's saying, and I don't think that that's necessarily a bad idea. I don't understand it, but I do want to say that it is an amenity, food and beverages, and I think we really have to keep that mindset.
Thank you.
Thank
You go ahead. Everything we do here is an amenity. We're a nonprofit. We don't expect to make any money on any amenity. And I will tell you that when a developer looks at building a community, what I heard is if they think an amenity is going to be used by 10 to 15% of the prospective homeowners, they build it in. Because to have a vibrant community to appeal to a large audience, they need a wide variety. Because some people don't use one thing, but they use another thing. But you need to appeal to a wide audience. Right.
I'm a anonymous attendee.
A what?
I would argue that alcohol clubs lose money on their food and beverage. That simply is not true. Those that make money seem to outsource the restaurant and bar business to independent parties.
Well, I'd be happy if you shared the data, but I could show you a stack this high of benchmarking studies, industry reports with what the performance is, or whether it's HOA or whether it's country clubs, and they all lose money from what I've seen. But I'm always open to, my eyes are always open to learn more information. So if you have information to share, I'm a voracious reader. Please, you have my email address, send it to me, because I'll probably call them up and ask them a bunch of questions. So thank you.
Okay, and Tom Flip had his hand up.
Go ahead, Tom.
We can recognize them.
I didn't know I had my hand up. I did not do that intentionally.
I guess we
I
will.
just speak when I want to speak. I'm not one to raise.
Sir, you're the president. You don't have to put your hand up.
I don't want to not answer Steve's question because he bothers me every time we're at the gym about this question. So just so you know, he's asked me 5 times, so. You don't get it. this, and Cheryl could attest to it, the board has discussed minimums almost every year. The finance committee has discussed it almost every year. And there's a host of reasons why we don't want to do it. There may be a time where it's right to do it, but we feel we're very different than a golf club. When you sign up to play golf, you're likely going to use the restaurant after a round of golf to eat and drink with your friends. You're more prone to use it. You know that's a fact of life when you join a golf club. When people join HOA, they don't necessarily have the intention of eating at the beach club or being forced to eat at the beach club. I also feel, and so I'm talking some personal things, but also some from the literature, that we're already asking people whether they use it or not to contribute $1,200, $1,300, and $1,400 to subsidize something they may or may not use. So right now, the people don't use it are supporting the people that do use it. The other thing is we never wanted to all of a sudden force people to come, because when are they going to come to the beach club? They're not here. 2/3 of the people aren't here a lot of the time. But when they are here is when we're absolutely the busiest. And we haven't proven that we can provide the service in the busy season. The last thing we want to do is encourage another 100, 200, or 300 people to come here at the busy season and give us more challenges in terms of being able to handle that. There's a litany of things. Do we want to really force people that may be here 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks a year to have to pay every month? We just didn't think it's the right time or the right thing to do for an HOA. Now, there may be a time down the road when things are a lot smoother. We understand we could handle more people, but we also haven't proven, Steve, that more business means less of a subsidy. More business can mean a greater subsidy. So to say we want to do something to attract more people could only be maybe me sitting here next year and saying, thanks for that idea, Steve, your subsidy's going up by XYZ. And last I will say on the list, and Scott, you could help me here, there is some industry data that when you do these minimums, you hope for some slippage. And I think the slippage is single digits, 4 or 5%, which means they pay the $1,000, but they never eat there. So you just pocket it. And we're talking numbers 4 or 5%. It's meaningless in the scheme of things. So there are other reasons why both the finance committee and the board up to this point has not really entertained the idea of a minimum. And we have a lot to do before we could even think about that. So hopefully I'll get some peace and quiet when I go to the gym.
If I could build on that, because Jerry, I think that's extremely well said.
I understand you don't get it, but I can't help with that any more than what I just said, Steve.
Tom, you were saying something?
Yeah, I think that's extremely well said, Jerry. I just want to add one point with regards to probably more the question that came online, which is, I think, a little bit of disbelief that it does even need a subsidy. And when I came in, Jerry and Scott know this, I asked a lot of questions about the restaurant 2 years ago when I started being a board member, and really thought that it should be at least break even. And the more I dug into it, the more I read the benchmarking reports, the more I really understood what happens in the operation. I've been converted. I understand. I want to say you can never make money on these things, but boy, I don't. It's not an easy equation. I don't know how to do it. And so I would just say that I think superficially that's an easy approach to say, how come all these restaurants make money and we can't? But there are some fundamental differences that I learned about over the past couple of years to kind of reinforce that. I've been going forward. I just to kind of echo a little bit of what Jerry said, we have to get to a nice, stable, steady state, and this is a year that we really plan on doing that. We've had 2 very good years of learning, and we need to get ourselves to a point where we truly understand what the crowd is going to be like, meaning what does the labor need to be. That's a huge factor in what we're doing. And we look at the numbers of the cost percentages, the cost of food versus the cost of the daily labor versus the fixed labor. The the reality is the variable cost margin is extremely low. And so another meal coming in doesn't create nearly as much profitability as I think the average person thinks. And that's the thing. If we had another 100 people coming in every day, that's not going to turn this restaurant profitable. Not unless we do some other fundamental changes with regards to pricing, for example, and some other factors that we just have not taken into account with regards to what we think the restaurant should be to the broader community.
Go ahead, Mark. What?
I have Steve Bin, Jovi's on the line.
You're like, oh no.
Did you promote him?
Steve?
Steve, can you hear us? Is he muted or not?
No.
He doesn't know how to.
Ask him if he needs tech support.
Pretty good.
I think Steve needs a good IT guy.
One more thing.
He's gonna.
So what's the goal?
Sir, your name, please?
Same one as before. So what's the goal of the restaurant if it's not to bring more people in? I understand the most important thing is the basics, all that other stuff, these programs and stuff really don't mean anything. But what is the idea of the restaurant? You're talking about bringing in a lot more personnel during the season to be able to take care of an influx of people. But what if that influx doesn't come? I don't understand how we can lose $1 million a year on it. I understand it's an amenity. I understand it's totally different from a restaurant. I was only talking about going to a restaurant with good food and how many times do you go there? So I just don't understand what the goal is if it's not to cut down on costs, because keep raising costs forever. But I'm just somewhat confused as to that aspect.
The goal is not to cut down costs. The goal, like any amenity, is to give a pleasurable experience to all those that want to use that amenity. To have a good experience, to have good food, to be consistent, and they want to come back because they have a good experience. And if we do that, I think we'll have more people coming back because the reverse happened to some extent last year.
Steve, I would just say to dovetail what Jerry just said. I'm sure you saw that movie Field of Dreams. And remember, if you build it, they will come. So we built it, they're coming, right? But just to the point that everybody's making, if you deliver a really good product, word gets out, word will get around and people will come. But again, it's about the basics, the consistency, and Scott and his team are building that right now, and we're just asking them to continue to build because people will come. They have come. We built a beautiful venue. It's there. There's a gentleman, Chuck.
Yeah, my name is Jim Burns, and first of all, I appreciate everything you guys are doing. I am not an operations person, and I remember last year hearing the argument and the discussion around the minimums. And, I kind of wanted one, and I got the message last year and I thought, oh yeah, that makes sense. I was a social member at the golf club. I utilized my minimum, whether I wanted to or not. I had no trouble. I brought people in. I hit it every quarter. Didn't have a problem with it. I don't use this facility as much as I should. So I'm just looking at myself personally, lots of room to improve. If I had a minimum, I would knock it out of the park. I'm just saying, just one perspective. The question I would have for the board is, at what point do we decide maybe we got to try something? I mean, so if you look at what we've said, maybe the last 2 years, is this the year now that we can say, okay, we don't need the minimum? But I'm starting to feel that we keep coming up with ideas and we're recognizing the urgency and we're trending the wrong way. What if we tried a minimum? What if that minimum drove a behavior of performance. I'm not saying I'm not telling you how to do your job, but I'm starting to wonder that I saw it work for the club and I saw how I behaved. And I'm just curious if maybe that might be a change that we would consider, if not now, is next year the year. But I'll tell you what, the trend is disturbing, and I wish I had more to offer you, but I really liked the idea last year. I'm liking it more this year, but I respect your decision. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. By the way, the golf club's subsidy in the restaurant is a lot higher than the beach club, even with the minimum. Their subsidy is a lot higher than the beach club.
I know nothing. I'm just.
No, that's
I'm
a fact.
how I behave.
I'm just saying it isn't the end all for
You
any.
got a letter saying you have this amount left, bam, I was in there.
I don't see, I think the $500 that Steve said it's an easy one. It can't hurt anybody. And it can bring in a lot of money into the whole development. $500 minimum is really nothing in comparison to anywhere else you go. And I just think it's a great idea.
Lots of comments. Can I go? Hi, Ed Young, Siesta Bay. I think execution is what we continue to talk about. Training, better quality, better service. You're not there yet. A week ago, just a personal experience, at the beach club for dinner, half of the orders were delivered wrong. So all that food had to be thrown away. So until the order's right and the quality is right, you're not going to make any progress. So asking for more money is not a good approach. People ask for more money when they've been proven that they can execute. People go to the beach club because it's a beautiful place. We love it there. The view is great. You're right. We built a world-class facility. Now you have to execute. The money isn't the answer. It's management, it's training, it's execution every day. Jim, talking about the golf club, I'm a golf member as well. That wasn't always perfect. I can tell you, when we think about, hey, are we going to go out tonight? Typically, we prefer to go to the golf club because the quality and execution is there. It's not a pricing decision. It's just, I'm going out to eat. There's so many choices around Naples. So we want to keep people in the community. We have to improve on execution.
Absolutely.
I think that's all it comes down to. And everybody will come. It's not the minimum.
Yeah.
People want to be here. They bought a home. They live here. They love it here. So let's give everybody what they need.
Can I divert this discussion a little bit and ask Scott a question? And again, you could say you don't want to address it now, but we all talk about execution. What is the team planning to do differently this season than last season? I mean, one of the things you mentioned to me, Scott, and it really dawned on me, was when you go to a restaurant downtown, if there are multiple doors, there's usually a sign, use XYZ door or go see the hostess. And they seat the person, they look at their chart, they make sure the server is not overloaded, and they tell people, okay, here's this table you go to. When we look at the beach club, we're completely different. I think you mentioned there's 9 places to enter the beach club.
Correct.
People go in and they sit down at whatever table they want to sit down at. So there's no control in terms of making sure the server could handle the people, that you're level loading for each server and those things. So I'm more interested, not in the dollars, which is very unusual for me, but more interested in what are we doing operationally to change it? Are we thinking about having reservations? Are we, what are we going to do to help get the service?
Great. Thank you for the question. I'm going to take a little bit of time, kind of delve into this a little bit. I've been trying to listen and take in everyone and hearing what you're saying. Obviously, execution is certainly something we focus on. I'll give you a little bit of history. This is off the top of my head. I have lots of notes, things like that. Last February, we had a night where we had 500 people come in. Prime rib night. That was on a Thursday night. We had Friday dinner to recover. I was in the kitchen that night with 500 people. Remember, we had about 200 reservations. That means 300 people walked in. Not making that up. That's a number. Okay, that was Thursday. That would happen to be President's Week. Then Saturday, we had a wedding. Brought us a lot of great money, very profitable for the club. Sunday, that wedding decided to, on President's Weekend, invite all of their guests to the pool, which was not a very good idea, unbeknownst to us. Literally that Sunday, I had 6 of my food runners walk out, 1 server walk out. They're just not doing it. So literally in the middle of my season, I lost 6 or 7 people. It was 6 people. They quit. No notice, just walked out. So that's what happened. On top of, I had a brand new chef. We had a brand new food and beverage director that started in October, November. Okay. We're going into this season with chef knows what's happening, Gracie, Milton. We have a good amount of people who are on the staff, understand what's coming at us come January 2nd. Okay. What we're asking for, as Jerry alluded to, I've heard a lot about the programs, and quite honestly, the plan that was put forward to the board was not a Chinese menu where pick and choose programs. It was meant to be an overall plan to address service quality as well as design for success, as opposed to let it come at us. Number 1, hire a second hostess in season, Wednesday through Saturday. We know that we have a large amount of walk-ins. We know that on Wednesday and Thursday nights, we have bocce league that will walk in with 100 people. And for some reason, from the bocce court to the dining room, nobody can call and make a reservation and give us a heads up. Everybody wants to sit at 6:05. It's a magic number around here. I can't tell you why. 6:30, kitchen gets flooded with people. So in order to address that, we put in the budget, we'll have 2 hosts on those nights for dinner. The other thing that I'm going to recommend is that we have reservations January, February, March, depending in April, for all of the seats except the Q bar and the high boys around the table. So if you want to sit at the Q bar, the patio, or the dining room for dinner, again, Wednesday through Sunday, you'll have to make reservations. If you don't have reservations, you may have to wait for an open table or a table that's available on those first come, first serve basis. Everyone shakes their head, says, yeah, that's a great plan, until my family's in town. We don't know where we're going. We don't have a reservation. Couldn't you just sneak us in because you have an empty table? What we're going to do is we're going to design the reservation system so that essentially we're taking so many reservations that we know we can handle. You may not get the 6:05 reservation. You might have the 5:45, or you might have the 7:30 or 8 o'clock reservation. Part of the plan is to keep the restaurant open and operational a half hour later than what we did this last season, because we know we're going to spread out reservations in that key time. The other thing that's going to happen is the programs that we're spending so much time discussing really are meant to target a lot of different people. That's why there's so many different programs. We heard at the town hall, the happy hours from 3 to 5 in season didn't help anybody. That's why we're moving it from 4 to 6. There's a cost associated with it. If normally my food or my bar cost is 28%, I'm going to 56%. Everybody has their cocktails between 5 and 6:05, like we just talked about. So now all of a sudden I'm picking up half of that tab for those cocktails, because that's what I heard at the town hall. And that's why I heard at the general manager meetings that that's what people in season wanted. That's a large number. I think it represents $35,000 or $40,000 of margin that we're giving back. So that's one of the things that we have to look at. What's the margin that we're giving back? So my bar cost right now is pegged at 28%. I think my bar cost is going to 37 or 38% for the year. There's a cost associated with that and with those programs. It's not just simply saying this one program, that one program. We talk about the people coming in on Wednesday and Thursday nights. We know that our cuisine carousels are very popular on Thursdays. We know that on Wednesday nights, our half-price pizzas, they're going to go away on January 1st, and we're going to drop in the cuisine carousels on Wednesday and Thursday to accommodate the walk-in group. Those are going to happen January through April, or January through March, excuse me. That's when the bocce league is in town, for lack of a better term. So Wednesday and Thursday nights, same buffet, less waste. We're able to take some of the pressure off the kitchen when we have walk-ins. The other things that we've done with help from the board and the OEC committee is we're making sure that the weddings we're taking are not on the holiday weeks. In other words, we want to make sure that we're not closing people down President's Week or something crazy like that. We learned that lesson. The other lesson we learned last year, that prime rib night, we saw NPS scoring go from, we're about 40s and 50s down to 20 and 18. Literally 2 weeks after that, we've now worked the perception and the relational scores. Just came in today. I think they were at 59 or 60 or somewhere in there. The overall NPS score is sitting at 72. We know that we can deliver. We just need a chance to deliver that in a controlled environment. Last year, February, March was not a controlled environment. We are going to tell you how we will serve you at the beach club. In other words, here are the parameters. It will be very clearly stated, and here is the parameters in which we would welcome you and hopefully you join us at the beach club. We talk about the programs from, you know, the cuisine carousels. There is a higher food cost associated with that because come Thursday night, I'm not using that food again because it's been sitting out on a buffet. So that's a higher food cost. Where I have 45% food cost pegged this year, I think I'm going up to a 58% food cost in the budget for next year. Because I know I'm going to have higher waste. I know that the half-price pizzas are costing me money. And that's rightfully so because we're bringing people in. The key there is to develop the Wednesday night social hour like it used to be. I understand maybe there wasn't food or drink specials associated with it before, but we're trying to get that to happen. The other thing we're doing is the mug club, for instance. We're trying to bring you out on that Monday night. You mentioned people are only going so many times a week. Fine, I want you on Monday and Tuesday when I never see anybody and we have 40 people in the restaurant. Respectfully, don't see me on Friday and Saturday when I have 350 people or 400 people. I need to spread that out. So if I can put the programs on different nights to attract you on a Tuesday night or a mug club on a Monday night, whatever it might be, that's what we're trying to do. And so when I look at the overall budget that was suggested for literally a 1% increase on your dues, comes down to less than $1 a day, you get the list of programs all for that price. I sound like a salesman. Low price. But that's the reason when I hear us talking about labor and the 1%, 0.5%, 2%, I look at 1% of what we can provide at that 1%. It all boils down to owner satisfaction. We are so keyed in on that particular thing. Someone asked, what are we doing at the beach club? What are we doing? Are we shaving dollars or what's the purpose of the beach club? It's an amenity to make sure that we're providing the best owner satisfaction that's possible. I realize we fell short, particularly in February, and that perception or that hangover lasted for about 45 to 50 days. We can see it in the NPS scores. I have it actually on the screen here. I can show you, but I'll show you at the town hall. Essentially, it went like this, and now we're back up to the 70s and even low 80s. So generally speaking, when I talk about the budget put forward, I'm very passionate about the budget we put forward because our team wants to deliver, they need to deliver, and they're professionals in their craft, whether it's Chef Chad, Gracie, it's Mike behind the bar. We're all cued in on January 1st, that April 1st, knowing that we have to deliver. There are things in this budget that I'm going to fight pretty hard for. In other words, to stay in the budget so that we have enough personnel, and as opposed to kind of trying to cut food costs or beverage costs, when we've heard the annual members, respectfully, most of you are here year round. You've been enjoying the half-price pizzas and the other things that we're doing. Why should the people who are not here all year not get to enjoy those as well? It is a direct correlation to owner satisfaction. We see it in the NPS score. May 15th, when we started the programs, is when we saw our NPS score go up. We also saw summertime as well. So generally speaking, again, that's a lot of information. I'm sorry if I talk fast, but generally speaking, we are planning for a successful year. It's involved in the budgets. It starts now. Believe me, we're planning from the hiring process to the people we have on board that you see, but also who are behind the scenes.
Thank you. No, go ahead, Charles.
My name is Charles Agaraba from Graphite Cycle. It seems that the pillar of your plan is the programs, okay? But in query, I don't think that people will be coming to the club because of, half-price pizza, okay? So I go with what Jerry was saying, that if you focus on service and put aside the programs, I think that will attract more people. Thank you.
Mark, do you have something? Mark, do you have anyone online? Okay.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said, and I know the team is working very, very hard. Of everything you said, the one thing I do have a problem with or have a different viewpoint is we have half-price pizzas in the summer is the same reason you have Sizzle Week in September, and the same reason every restaurant in Naples gives you a special deal in the off-season. There's no sizzle week in January, February, March. There's no half price in January, February, March. The people are here. They want to have a good time. They want to be served well. I just don't think we have to give away things in season. And that's just a fundamental difference that the two of us have. And, you know, I don't know who's right. I don't know who's right.
And Jerry, I disagree with the programming. January through April, we're not having half-price pizzas,
Yeah.
that one in particular, because we're dropping into the cuisine carousels. And I just mentioned that.
Okay.
So I think there has to be some definition or understanding of what the programs, what the purpose is. The purpose is not to give stuff away. It's really, when I look at all of these programs, they have a secondary purpose why we're doing them. It's
Scott,
not just to give stuff away.
oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I was gonna ask though, I brought it up earlier. You had mentioned that you're gonna do the half-price pizzas through the end of the year, that happy hours through the end of the year. Is that built into the 25 budget?
We do have some of those numbers built in. So when I say some, it depends on the outcome of where we're at. Because quite honestly, if this board tells me that we're stopping programs of certain kinds, we're gonna stop them November 1st. Because that's essentially when we start season. Yeah. To give you an idea, like food cost, I think I have that pegged at 52% or something like that versus 45, which was budgeted.
And so for anybody who wants to know, I had to pay $9.49 a pound for lean ground beef at Publix yesterday. Yeah. Food's expensive.
Jim
Hi, Jim.
Kelly, I said I was gonna keep my mouth shut for a change. Break the loose out in.
You still can do that, Jim.
Oh, yeah, but I stood here so long, so I get something for it. And that is this. I don't think that there is a person in this development that's not a millionaire,
That's why.
okay?
Not a millionaire.
A millionaire. I don't think there's a person in here that isn't. And why are they 10-cent millionaires? They gotta come down because you give a slice of pizza. What kind of crap is that? A 10-cent millionaire. I'm gonna go all the way down there to this Taj Mahal because I get 50 cents off a drink. I don't get it. I'm like him. I don't. Thank you.
So I will tell you that there are a lot of people that will come down and do that. We heard at our town halls that pricing is very, very high on the priority list for the 110 people that were at that town hall meeting. And a couple weeks later, when it came to opening on Sundays in the summertime, really a group of people as well that were very vocal, and that group was about 100 of them, came and said, we have to be open on Sundays, and the board again agreed with them and decided to open. You know, that's the question. In this budget, are we open Sundays in the summer when we know we're gonna lose $1,000? What's the board think about that? You know, maybe Memorial Day to Labor Day, should we be closed on Sundays?
Yes.
I don't want to relitigate that. We made the
What's that,
decision to
Tom?
valid. I don't want to relitigate that. We had long discussions.
Yeah, we're
We weighed it from every angle and we decided that we needed to be open on Sundays in the summer.
Okay.
If you want to say, should we be open 4 days and close 3 days, we can have that conversation. But if you're going to ask me Sundays or no Sundays, I am a hard Sunday open, period. People deserve it. We talked about it and we should not waver from being open on Sundays.
And also, if you're gonna go with the programs, then you should try the minimum, right? Because most HOAs in here have
If you
minimums,
could
so if you're
Just
gonna go.
start over because people
Yeah,
didn't hear.
yeah, I
If
didn't
you're
hear.
gonna go with the programs, then I think you should also try the minimum. Okay, because I don't think that, Jerry, I think we disagree on this, but I really think that the board should try the minimum. Okay, so it would help.
What was, the question I always asked about the minimum, the first question I asked is, what is the objective of putting in a minimum? What is the objective? No, so go ahead up. What is the objective? Why do we want a minimum?
The objective is you would have almost like a guaranteed income, right? That you can spend. You have a fixed, almost like a guaranteed income you can spend. And also, it would also increase your turnout to the restaurant.
Okay, Jim's going to answer that question too. What's the objective of a minimum?
I'm looking at it from a different angle.
Yeah.
A behavioral angle. What if it drove performance and it drove popularity and usage? That's it. There's a lot of ways to cut this in terms of special projects, subsidization. I'm just saying, I saw how I reacted and how I behaved, and it was powerful. And I'm just saying, there's 900 doors. Somewhere down the road, we're gonna have to look at that, I think.
Oh, I
And I'm
agree.
just saying, we're collectively gonna have to decide, hey, this has gone far enough. Let's try it. Let's put some guardrails. Let's orderly. I don't know what that line would be, but again, I just want to reiterate that I saw a big change with myself. That's all. And I just
No, thanks, Jim. And you used the word, it'll increase usage. I don't disagree. I've been scared as hell to increase usage. That's been my biggest problem. Until we could execute, why would we want to increase usage? Hold on. The second thing, Jim, is we're going to put some, based on what Scott said, we're going to start asking for reservations and things like that, and limit the number of people. And now we're encouraging more people to show up in the busy times. I think we have the opportunity to disappoint more people because, hey, I got a minimum and I can't use it because I can never get a table.
No.
Until we can prove that we could execute and say, wow, now we could handle 100 more people or 150. I'm scared as hell.
What if you put the rules in, as you say, and operate with the rules? A restaurant does that. The old golf club, when I was a social member, they had rules.
Yeah.
You put the rules in, and those are the ruls, and we live by them. I think we all have to realize now that how much money do we want to keep throwing into something? Let's get this hard and fast. And I feel like if we could see a shift of how this would be utilized, people might stay, tips might go up. The behavior is going to change, I think, for the better. Now, we can keep saying, well, we're not sold on it, we're gonna go another year. At some point, we're gonna have to try this with the rules that you're putting in place, which I believe are the right thing to do. I guess I would love to see more consistency in how we use this amenity. I'll tell you what, Jerry, I see you in the gym. I use that gym every day now. I didn't used to use it before.
Mhm.
Now I use it every single day. I wasn't even trying. I'm saying you come up with a behavior like a minimum. I don't know what the rules would be around that. And let's just see how we would perform as a community. That's my only thought. I'm looking at how I behave, that's all.
No,
Thank you for listening.
and I appreciate your input. We just have different opinions and we'll leave it at that.
Do you want to move on to sugar cane?
Yeah. Let's move on to.
Question. Have you ever tried to find out how the whole community feels about a minimum? Not just the board, because when I talk to my friends in the community, they're all in favor of a minimum. Some of them go to the restaurant. Some of them don't go to the restaurant. And those that don't go say, well, if I had a minimum, I'd go. So you get them to try it and you deliver on your promise of good service. And then you've got a customer. That's what you want. I don't see the problem with having a minimum. I think the majority of the people, if you poll them in the community, would say, yeah, that works for me. I can't see every year using the same excuses for not doing it, because that's what I'm hearing. The same things every year. I think there's got to be a change in the way we think about it. And Fred Bergerhoff, I'm on Graphite. Oh, we know where you live. Don't worry. Yeah.
Tell Jerry a question. Jerry, the effect of a minimum would be on the subsidy here.
So far, the only reason I've been against it, because I think it would go up,
The subsidy would go up, you would think,
in my opinion.
because we lose money.
On every diner. I think service would go down until we prove it. And that's why my voice has always been against it, because I don't want the subsidy to go up and I don't want service to go down. If I thought those two would go in the opposite direction, I'd do cartwheels for minimums. But I like Fred's idea. I think we should do a one-question survey and get the answer. No one here has the answer. Just do a survey and ask the community.
I'm John Barsames, and I agree with that. But Saturday night, I brought guests to the beach club. We walked in and we had a beautiful greeting. There was a bartender, a bar back, waitress, kitchen staff. You know how many people were in the dining room? Us 5. We were the only 5 people there. Okay? So the food service was great. The value was terrific. I think what we have to do is balance expectations. So last night I'm at Chops on Sizzle Day and I'm getting a 10 meal, right? Because I'm paying $100 a head by the time you're done, regardless of the sizzle, to get what I'm gonna get. Here, I don't have that expectation. My expectation is for something that's moderate, easy to go with. I believe that the minimums are essential, and I believe it's a fatalistic attitude to say, I'm afraid that we can't deliver on services. You deliver what you have to deliver, and you set the expectation at a reasonable level. This is not a first-class dining experience, nor will it ever be. It is something that you can come and enjoy, that's reasonable and fair. Put the minimums in place. I think the survey should happen. I think you'd get a vote.
You know, I was in the advertising business for 40 years, and I got to tell you, the minimal does a couple things that's very, very important, I think. Number one, it's going to go and increase the amount of dollars that we're able to have in this community because of the restaurant. Another thing is, it's going to get people used to coming and employees staying because they're able to make money. If not, the amount of dollars that are spent in the restaurant, if it goes down, you're going to have turnover. It's impossible not to, impossible, because they're there to make money too. And I think $500 here is more than reasonable. Plus, it's going to keep the quality up and the employment up. So you can't lose. You just can't lose with it. Thank you.
Can I just jump in with a couple comments here? Yep.
You got more people in line, Tom.
Okay, yep. Okay, I'll wait.
My name is Beth Cohen. I'm also from Graphite Circle. We seem to be representing. I just would like to say that I agree with you, Jerry, that almost everything that you've said. I think we should do a survey, but I don't think it should be just one question. I think you need to present your argument and say, do you want a $500 minimum, or would you like us to get the service and the food quality under control first and then consider a minimum? I agree with you. I think that we've got to get that stuff under control before you can implement a minimum and expect people to come, because I think it will overwhelm everything.
And I'm not trying to argue. I just think past performance is the best predictor of future performance. Until we get the performance, we have no basis.
100%. Thank you.
Go ahead, Mark.
And Bruce's iPad. Bruce?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, Bruce.
Yes, very robust discussion. I'm enjoying listening to it. Just have a couple of things to add. As I understand it, the budget that is under discussion right now does not include any cost for the sugarcane mosaic virus. Is that correct?
That's correct. And as soon as we end this discussion, Renee is going to address that.
Okay, so with that as a backdrop, I would view the budget then as basically a basket of controllable items, discretionary expenses. Now, you can argue that that's not the case for every single thing, but I think in general, these are discretionary expenditures. And I believe that it's important for the board to come in at a flat budget. from last year, both because of the promise, quote unquote promise that was made when we approved the resale fee increase, but also because if we are going to have a special assessment or some such mechanism to finance expenditures for the sugarcane mosaic virus, I think you're going to get a much better reception for that if you have kept your discretionary expenses flat year to year. Now, the other thing that I would add is I'm very much a proponent of a $500 dining minimum. $500 times 900 doors is what? 450. 450. So if we increase the revenues at the restaurant by 450, then by my way of thinking, we are reducing the subsidy for the restaurant by 450. And in terms of owner satisfaction, I'm much more satisfied if I get a few meals under my belt for my $500 than just writing a check and seeing somebody's lawn refurbished. So I think it basically comes down to owner satisfaction.
Yeah, I heard everything you said. I didn't follow the math that if we collect 450, profits go
So
up.
Gary, can I interject on this? Because as an over-experienced committee, we looked at minimums. We didn't make a position on it, but we actually looked at the spend is where we got the data. And the spend will tell you that the local group spends almost nothing. That's the bottom 20%, 180 owners. But when we go to the next group up, believe it or not, they've already spent over $650 a year. So the number impact on a spend is probably in that 200 owners that aren't spending it now. It's not very much. So not saying I'm not trying to kill the idea, but I'm just telling you, it isn't the same impact as what you think. And I absolutely have all the data.
Maybe you turn that 200 into a 600.
Not trying to argue. I'm just trying to tell you the data.
Okay.
And can I go ahead?
I don't know if you have any more questions, but I think we should move on to the sugarcane mosaic. People want to get home for dinner and whatnot, and it's a very important subject. So let's get through that. If people want to have some more questions, fine, but let's finish the agenda first, okay?
I think Tom was trying to.
Tom, yeah, Tom said.
Tom, did you have something?
No, well, I do have some thoughts on it, but it's time to move on.
Yep.
So go ahead, Jared. Go ahead, Renee, with the sugarcane.
Actually, are you using that?
Do you mind just moving? Do you mind? advancing it for me? Okay. Okay, sugarcane mosaic virus and full viral necrosis. I just put together a recap. I'll go through this very quickly. I'm sure a lot of you have already heard of this information, but just in case we had some.
Can you move your microphone back?
Just in case we have someone new that's not familiar. So we detected this virus in January of 2025, and this virus has no cure. It takes 2 to 3 years once the virus is present to progress to the LVN stage, or the lethal viral necrosis stage. So that's when the grass starts and the turf starts dying off. It spreads via wet sap, mechanically, aphids, animals, and foot traffic. We have currently, well, as of January, so these numbers could have changed substantially. We had diagnosed 63 single-family homes, 6 common areas, of which was determined back then that at least 11 of these homes would definitely need to be replaced when this was budgeted for. So, and again, we discussed this at several board meetings and via a spring newsletter. So what we did is, through our research, we decided that Citra Blue was going to be the turf of choice. Citra Blue will have, but it will not progress to lethal viral necrosis. There was another turf that was considered, which was, you see in the next bullet, palmetto. We compared the two, and palmetto needs more inputs and does suffer with additional diseases like patch and things like that. So we felt that the Citra Blue was really the way to go on this. We did multiple site visits. We went to Esplanade, and if anybody wants to take a look at it, if you go to, where, Valencia Trails, sorry, I was just, popped out of my mind. Valencia Trails, which is right down in Mockery, their whole front entrance, it's installed there. So if you want to take a close look at it, by all means, go over there and take a look. So you could just do a spin around before.
What installed, Citra Blue?
Citra Blue, yeah.
Is that what they're doing for the whole community? If they put a new house in now, what do they put for the lawn?
We don't know. We don't know. So, also what we wanted to do to get this, down pat here is we wanted to do some test lawns. We did our first test lawn, on Nickel Ridge, where we did 2 fungicide applications to kill off the existing lawn. We added topsoil and then we installed the Citra Blue. Unfortunately, this test failed. And we know why it failed. It was too much of a good thing, as I put there. We, in thinking that because our soil conditions are so poor here, we put in a decent amount of topsoil, but what was happening was once the turf was laid on the topsoil, the roots weren't going through the topsoil. They were very happy in the topsoil and not adhering to the ground below. So what was happening is the turf kept on pulling up, and it was just staying within the topsoil. So one of the reasons why you do a test is to perfect your application, and so we know what went wrong there. We have since, just this past week, we pulled up all of that grass, all that turf. We took out a tremendous amount of the topsoil and we relayed it. Relayed the turf, and we're going to be looking for the results and how that works out over the next several months. But because of that, we also did another test on stone in the median. And with this application, we did no fungicides. We just simply pulled up the existing turf. We put down on the topsoil, and then we laid the new Citra Blue right on top. So we'll have 2 different examples to look at to see which approach is going to be better. Now, I will mention that based on the experts and the services at the university, they definitely recommend as a best practice applying the fungicides and then pulling up the turf. And the one big advantage to us in doing that is we have a number of weeds here, one of them being torpedo grass, but there's no other way to kill it. There's no application that could be put on a lawn to kill that grass. So if we do the fungicide applications, that would help us out with controlling something that is going to become a problem over time. So just wanted to bring that to your attention. So as far as the landscaping committee's recommendations, we decided to take a measured approach. We still believe, as you've seen in the prior presentation, that 185 is the right number. But what we'd like to do is to take a little slower approach, and we're doing this based on feedback that we've gotten from a lot of people. So what we'd like to do is we'd like to include $85,000 in the budget for this coming year to address the 11 homes that we know that need to be replaced, the single family homes. And then what we're going to do is we're going to recommend that we reevaluate January and February. So this disease becomes very apparent in the winter months because of the cold snap. So we will know by possibly even December, but definitely by January, February, what these lawns look like. Because what they do during the summer is they grow back. So you think your problem went away, but your problem doesn't go away. It continues to spread more, and it will show again in January and February. So as we evaluate the test lawns and we reevaluate what our situation is in January, February, we can look at the severity of where we stand for next year. Okay, we'll have the $85,000 budgeted, and then we have to make a decision after the reevaluation on if we need to replace more lawns and we would get the balance of the funding, which could be done through contingencies or special assessments. Any questions?
I have one, just, I'm looking at the landscape budget today, it's 2,000,004. There's no money in there currently.
No.
Right, so
Right.
anything is,
Right. This is all in addition.
okay, thank you.
This is all in addition. Do we have any questions?
So Renee, when you say that, then decide on the balance needed for funding, you said the contingency, are you talking about the typical 100,000 that we
Yes.
put in the budget every year?
Yep. So that is usually out there for unexpected things. This was somewhat unexpected or hurricanes. We're not gonna know if we go with the contingency, it'll be too early in the year because the turf would be installed in May, June timeframe if we're gonna have a hurricane. So if we went with contingency dollars to get us where we need to go, then most likely the hurricane would have to be special assessed.
Yeah.
So there's special assess up front for what you need, or you use contingency and roll the dice on the hurricane aspect.
So Jerry,
The
if I'm,
contingency is not straightforward as Renee pointed out to me, so I thank her for that. Of course, the contingency is really for it's a common expense to all of us. If we have to ask for more money for single-family homes, we'd have to special assess. We can't take the contingency funds and just apply it to single-family homes because that's not what the master pays for. Depending if we do.
Let me just
Yeah.
clarify that a little bit, because Scott and I had a conversation. So of that $100,000 of contingency, there's approximately $65,000 that was contributed from the single-family
From the thing,
homeowners.
yes,
So we'd have that available.
depending on the amount.
Yeah, exactly. Depending on what else is done or if that's been tapped into.
But if there's common areas that need to be replaced, then that goes across all 900 homes.
That's correct. Yeah. So we wouldn't put anything in this 85,000 for common areas. We're gonna wait and see, and but we felt it was more important to take care of the single family homes, because if it's your home and your grass looks pretty terrible, I think you're gonna want to be the priority rather than a common area. After we revisit and reevaluate, then we can decide what we want to do with the common areas and see how bad they got and what our tolerance is for how they look.
And just to build on that, Renee and I had a really good conversation a week or so ago about this exact subject and what would be the appropriate approach towards this budget and how much to put in, whether it's the 185, the 85, or how to handle it, special assessments or everything else. And I think there was some good thinking from the landscaping committee on the approach. And I think at least what we talked about, and I firmly believe, is budgeting 85,000 for sugarcane mosaic virus is actually a fiscally conservative place to be. We know there are lawns today that should be replaced, and that adds up to close to that number. And so this isn't budgeting for what may come or just in case. This is really saying we're only going to budget for stuff that looks immediate and necessary, and everything else we're still going to figure out as we go. Because one thing I think most of us are aligned on, I don't want to speak for everybody, but is we want to take a conservative approach to how we spend money fixing this. We're intimidated by the news and what might happen, but we also want to be very prudent with how we respond to it, especially with the result that came out of that test lawn, which didn't quite go exactly as planned. So I think it's a good plan. I do think it's fiscally conservative. I think we would be naive to budget zero because we got issues today, and I think any more than what we're talking about is just going to be tough to manage within the budget and the budget expectations people have.
Okay, we'll go to the next. Oh, yeah, you have that up there. So we'll have some discussion after I finish this here. So future considerations and discussions, we're going to continue to monitor the supply, demand, and possible price increases. As this spreads throughout Collier County and in different areas, we're a little concerned about the supply and demand. Some of the sod farms are converting over to this because they recognize that there's a problem, but we'll have to keep a close eye on that. We realize that at some point in time, we'll have to speak to the modifications committee because I'm sure some of the wording that we have in our architectural design standards will have to be modified. So we have that on the horizon. One of the things that we're thinking about this is a future discussion, we haven't really delved into this at all, but is setting up a mini quarry sod farm. There's a couple of ways to get, this grass grows through rhizomes and you can use plugs and set the plugs up. You know, I don't know what their recommendations are off the top of my head, but maybe a foot apart or what have you, and then it could spread and create its own turf. But what we're thinking is because of we're at different times, just little pieces here and there. I'm not talking about replacing someone's lawn. I'm talking about you just installed the generator, you sank your gas tank and you just need a patch of grass. Right now, this is only available via pallets. So we thought that if maybe and this again hasn't been discussed at all, if we can pick an area within the quarry, a common area, and start our own mini sod farm, it would address the one-offs when people have, I just need to replace this 5 square foot, you know? So we're gonna have future discussions about that as well. And then another thing we're going to do some more work on. We've seen in some of the information that we've been looking at that ryegrass, overseeding with ryegrass can be a temporary aesthetically pleasing fix. It's not going to take care of the sugarcane mosaic virus, but it's something that if we have a huge spread here and it's just too big of a dollar amount to set up for the 26 contingency and or special assessment, that we might be able to overseed with ryegrass to just bring a temporary aesthetically pleasing, get you through the winter kind of thing until we reassess for the 27 budget. And that might be a possibility. And then the last thing is, I know, Jerry, we've spoken about it. Tom, you chimed in on this. Maybe in the future, when we get a handle on the spread and how rapidly it spreads and how much we think we're going to be needing in the future, because this is all new to us right now, right? We don't have that crystal ball. We might want to bring this to a place where we can fund it via reserve, set up reserve counts, so that if we do get a year that's really bad, we can pull money from other reserve counts to help with funding for the sugarcane mosaic virus. That's my thing. Do you have any questions here?
I do. I got a couple.
Okay.
What's the ballpark of what it's gonna cost per lawn, what you know today? It doesn't have to be perfect, but
I
10 grand.
can't really ballpark per lawn because we have lawns that are 16,000 square feet. We have some that are like 3,000 square feet. So what you want to look at is the price per square foot. Originally, when we started talking to Vision about this, we were up at around 146. We're down to 130 now. And if you compare that to our friends at Esplanade, and that's installed. If
Yeah.
you compare that to our friends at Esplanade, they're currently paying $1.50 per square foot.
Wow. So, I was trying to do the math a little bit on, we've got, 63, we're gonna for sure do 11 this year, but even if you take 63 and let's say we believe that 3 years is the maximum we got, we're gonna face about 21 a year the next 3 years, every year.
And that's kind of where we were going with the 155.
85, you need that to do 21?
Yeah, to do double the square footage, yeah. So when some of the 185, that was based on a couple of things. We to be replaced. We knew we had 63 that were infected. And speaking to Esplanade, they're about a year ahead of us on replacement. Their first year, they budgeted $50,000 and they woefully under budgeted for it. And what they're targeting in their budget this year is somewhere, they didn't give us the exact number because they're going through the same process, somewhere between 150 and 200 for this year.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about when we have 600 homes that.
581.
581, okay. I mean, if this thing gives us 10 years, that's 50 some a year. This is a big number.
Yeah.
Plus the common areas,
Yeah.
exactly right. Yeah.
Yeah, and the other differential I want to make with Esplanade, their budget is only for single family homes because they have Bermuda grass in their common areas and Bermuda grass is not susceptible. So that's their 150 to 200 is only for single family homes.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I'm just wondering, would it be possible to just add such a good plugs to areas effective, or was that, would it just spread so slowly
It's
that
very slow, very
too slow to?
Mark, the other thing is Citra Blue is a dwarf.
It's a dwarf, yeah.
And so you'd have a very distinct level of grasses. It looked checkerboard, potentially.
And it has a very distinct color too.
The plugging, I think, is the idea there is it's good for repairs. If they have an area that fails and you want to go back and do a repair, we could do it versus having to.
Or if we want to do that if we think the mini sod farm, that might be a good way to get it started at a very low cost.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
No, I don't see anybody else.
Tom,
I'd first like to thank Renee for her expertise and her work on this. I mean, I don't think there's anyone else in this community that can do this. But the one thing that you guys didn't talk about was that the single family homes will be burdened with the majority of the expense for this. That's not right. And I don't understand why. The common areas are going to be involved. Homes around, I understand why the condominiums have their own separate thing, but I don't understand why the single family homes are more burdened than anyone else for this. As well as because when we replaced the riprap, which we should have done for the lake, after the hurricane, everybody pitched in. It was everybody. Now you want to put it on the single family homes? I'm a single family homeowner. I don't want to be burdened by more than anybody else for this.
Right, I understand. No, so what would happen is that the single family homes would get the burden of the single family home lawn replacement, but all of the common areas would be spread across all 900 doors.
But who does it first? The common areas or these single family homes? Because I don't understand why you're separating it out. I mean.
That's the way the budget.
Because we have to, Steve.
Yeah.
When you compare it to the riprap on the lake is a common area used by all 900 doors.
We should do.
The single family homes, which 581, those expenses are unique to the single family homes, and that's the audience that pays for it. We can't mix those two.
So how much does each single family home cost?
Well, we don't know what the program would be.
That's what I just asked.
Or how large the lawn is for each single family.
Yeah, they vary. They vary in square footage. So to replace your neighbor's lawn might be more expensive or less expensive than replacing yours. Replacing someone that has a pie-shaped lot or a quarter lot, they have more property, so it's going to be more expensive for those. But when you think about this, and we talked about this as well, when you think about this, I would equate it to our landscape management contracts, okay? So we don't charge you for the amount of grass that they cut for you. We take the entire contract and split it equally against a single family home. So you want to look at it that way, rather than square footage per home.
I think the proper way to look at it is condos pay for condos, single family homes pay for single family homes, and then they both pay for the common areas.
That's correct.
Right, that's the way it works. That's the fair way to do it. That's the equitable way, and nobody's paying for anybody else except for their part. It just ends up that when you do it that way, single family homes, because they have their own lawn, end up having to pay a little bit more, but that's by nature of the fact that they have the lawn.
I'm going to give Steve a break.
You're giving us a break. Thank you.
I'm Lichterman here. I also want to echo what Steve said. I appreciate the research that we're putting into the lawn situation. However, I think we're still way premature on making any rash decisions to the tune of even $85,000. They say a picture speaks 1,000 words. For those of you at home, I've shown a picture of the pallet of new sod in front of the test lawn. and Renee alluded to that, it failed, it outright failed.
Mhm.
I think we're still grasping at straws. We did 2 fungicides on that and maybe too much fertilizer. That one didn't work. The next one, we're not going to do fungicide. We don't know if that's going to work. I think we're doing lots of testing right now. And I think to bite off and say we're going to do 21 homes next year or 60 homes, whatever the number is, I think that's way too aggressive. Until we get it right for 1 or 2 homes, I don't think we should move on to the 20 homes or whatever we're projecting for next year. We may find that it needs 1 fungicide. We may find it needs less watering. We're in the test stages, correct? And again, we've all asked what the cost of a single family home is. How much was this test home? How many square footage was that? Do you know what that?
I don't have it with me right
I mean, you're
now.
talking 5,000, 10,000, you're
I don't
gonna
have it
park,
with me right now. I can tell you that for the 11 homes, it was around 60,000 square feet, somewhere around there. For the 11 that we were
so roughly
proposing.
5,000 per home at $140, so 7,500.
I think averaging, if you look at the 11 homes, it averages about a little over 6,000 square feet per
Okay, so
home. One that has 16 and we have a couple
Yeah, I
that are
understand.
3,000.
So we're talking though roughly $9,000-10,000 for if homes are similar to the test home. My proposal is we pick 3 homes, we put 30,000 into the budget and try to get it right this next year. It takes about 6 months for the lawn to take anyway, right? Before we even know if it's working.
It takes quicker than that. I mean, we knew that this one didn't take in 2.5 months. Yeah, we knew it didn't take. And see, here's the other thing that we have to think about. Okay, we had, I'll say, a hell of a time replacing that lawn because the sod cutter, the sod farms don't cut sod typically this time of year. So the time of year where you need to replace it is May, June. By January, February, how bad our situation is.
Okay.
And to do the replacement in May, June, and then you have it and you have it in for the rainy season, and that's the optimum time.
I've also looked at the 11 homes that we had targeted that need to be replacement. They've never looked better as of today.
That's,
Now, you can tell us they're gonna die. I'd like to wait and see. I want to see that for myself. I was gonna get in December. I guess I'll feel better with this proposal if they're actually dead by December.
become very obvious as soon as the cold weather comes in. Like I said, we may be able to see it as early as December, but January, February, we
Just know
don't really know what our
Whatever
situation.
bare spots they had 6 months ago has completely filled in. They're nice and green and
Right.
flush. I wish my lawn looked half as good as any of those look right now. My final point is, I know this didn't just happen yesterday, this fungus. It's spread from central Florida. It's come down to southwest Florida. It's affected hundreds of subdivisions. Are we aware of any that have completely replaced with the proposed sod that have had a successful outcome at this point?
We are not aware that anybody that is completely replaced, and we're not taking that approach to completely replace all the lawns. I mean, we think others of the quarry that never get this.
Oh, we're on the verge of it. I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
potentially,
potentially 5 years into this.
yeah.
Because the test lawn started to fail when DTE was still here. So they replaced it. And then when Vision came on board, it failed again, and they replaced a portion of this lawn. And then when it failed again, so this is 3 consecutive years, they said, wait a second. They didn't do Citra Blue because we had this virus. So then they did it again. They tested this past January. So we're to 4 years into this.
I just don't know why we're proposing to be the test pilot for the state of Florida.
We are.
At this point.
Oh, no, there've been many lawns replaced. Esplanad's been doing, like I said, pretty, they're budgeting,
Easies though, right? Have they done?
but they're replacing whole lawns. Yeah, they're putting $150,000 to $200,000 in their budget next year for this.
Proposing, but have they actually done it? Have they
Seen ones that have been replaced. They started replacing them last year.
Okay. Again, my final thought is I think we ought to just pick 3 lawns and get it right this year before we start throwing tons of money. I think 30,000 is the number for 3 lawns. Thanks.
Okay.
One last thing.
Yeah, sure.
I just don't want us to be in a situation. There seems to be a term throughout the community, quarry 2 times, where we do a lot of things twice to get it right.
I understand.
I don't want this to be another quarry 2 times. I don't want this to
understand.
be the riprap on the lake where we're still paying for a mistake.
I
Okay.
understand.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions? Oh, here we go.
I want to thank Len for getting up. I think he made some really good points there as far as sinking our efforts into perhaps 3 test lawns.
Hey, Rich, can you step a little closer to the microphone? Thank you.
Some people are too far away. Okay. We have 11 lawns. And they recovered right over the summer with this wet season. If they get back to the point in January or February of where they were 1 year ago, in other words, there was a dead spot 6 feet or so in some of these lawns filled in. If we get back to 6 feet, what's our answer? Replace the lawn, or do we allow a seasonality to this problem? We might have 30, 40, 50 lawns with the same amount of damage that those 11 lawns had this year. What's to say, hey, everybody, and I do think the board should set the expectation. We are going to have some rough looking lawns here as we go through this. There may be a seasonality to it. If we have 30 lawns that have the equivalent amount of damage and death that those 11 lawns had this year, why can't we just say, we're not doing anything with them? Because we know, we've had high confidence in all these things we've tried and we failed, right? We had high confidence in the test lawn and it's failed. We know because we just went through it. A wet summer here, this will fill in these spots to an acceptable point of view. The lawns right now, if you drive around, take that list of 63 homes, drive around the whole neighborhood, try to find one lawn you think, oh my gosh, that's going to be terrible this spring. We're going to have to replace that. It's crazy. The lawns look great. And if we have to go through a seasonal die-off every spring of a few lawns, and they grow back in the summer, I think we should live with that. And for me, the test lawns, as Len was saying, I'd like to see a full year. We don't know how these lawns are going to hold up through the dry season. We don't know how they're going to hold up to, what I'm saying, the Citra Blue lawns that we put in. How are they going to hold up to 50 inches of rain in the summer? Are they going to come out of that yearly cycle successfully? Because right now we cannot replace lawns more than once. We have to be absolutely sure. And if it means we go back to 11 lawns that have those spots on them again, leave it alone, because we just witnessed what happens in the summer as they grow back in. There's a much more conservative way of approaching this whole thing. And the longer we wait, the better the supply chain is going to be, so that we have a better solution for large and small quantities. The more confidence we know, can we avoid, and it's not, I've never heard the word fungicide used in this. It's glyphosate. It's the killer agent that was in the old style Roundup that was put down in these lawns. And on that Nickel Ridge lawn, it killed some of the plantings there that had to be replaced. It's if we can get away without putting down that, that would be a great benefit. So we still don't have those answers. This experimenting is just killing us. But if we focus maybe on 3 lawns and get it right, let's see it all the way through a year from now and then come back. What's the worst that's going to happen? We have some dead spots on the lawn. Maybe they don't fill completely in the summer. So set the expectation and with the community that we're in for some rough looking lawns along the way here. So there is a more conservative way to do this.
I guess the only comment I would make, Rich, I think you make some really great points. I think the hardest thing is if you were someone who's trying to sell their home or you lived next door, if somebody's lawn next door to you and you were trying to sell the home look like that, they might have concerns and start asking if you're in one area where multiple lawns look like that, it might be a challenge for them. I'm just trying to, you make great points.
Here's what I think. The board needs to be strong and firm about this. We're going to have rough looking lawns. We are not going to waste money on the one was across from me of these 11 lawns, 14,000 square feet. It maybe had 100 square feet of diseased area. It looks beautiful now. For us to say we're going to spend this amount of money and and replace a big lawn like that because it has a small spot. I'm sorry, if you're the homeowner and you're selling your property, it's our policy, we're not replacing, we're not patching lawns. If we start getting the business of patching lawns with the old floor, the existing stuff, or even with ryegrass, the homeowner's gonna have to step up. I mean, if I'm selling a house, I'm cleaning the roof, I'm cleaning this, I'm putting bleach everywhere, trying to clean it up. I can, hire Visions to come and put 10 or 15 pieces of sod at $250 a piece to patch a spot in my lawn. So the board has to get firm on this and not worry about people selling their houses.
If I could try to bridge the conversation real quickly, because, and Renee, jump in because I want to clarify the conversation that we did have on this. Because I think it is very much along the lines of what both Len and Rich just said. Okay, so we went down from the 185 to the 80 on the agreement that we should not be budgeting for any more than we fully expect to get really ugly. Okay, so, and this is based on the assessment of the experts, and I'll just say Vision is the expert, and that's what they've said. The other conversation that Renee and I had on this is we will know in the winter. So there will be a difference between what we budget now, which is preparing to do, and then what we actually do. If we look at those 11 lawns and only half of them are really bad and need to be replaced, we would only do the ones that are really bad and need to be replaced, and we would not spend that money. So there's really two questions here. I hope that we can just bridge with this conversation, which is what we budget versus what we do. I firmly believe budgeting the 80 is a prudent thing to do because that's what the experts say the trajectory is. If we get down the season and we get to March and April, when this is going to be the ugliest, and we determine that it's only 3 or 4, great, we only do 3 or 4.
Hi, Len Lickerman again. Tom, just on your point, and I had one other point. If we budget the 85, we end up only using 25 of it, as well as we're going to use the other 50 elsewhere where we're over budget. That's why I say just get it right in the beginning.
Let me correct that, Len. This board, and I give Jerry props for this. We don't shuffle and spend money that we don't budget. I don't think that's a fair accusation. And you just take a look at, we made money this year on insurance, right? The insurance came in lower. Jerry refused that money be reallocated to anything. So there is a lot of fiscal discipline that says because we budget, it doesn't necessarily mean we're going to spend it.
I'll talk about that offline, Tom. That's one other question, and Renee or anyone else on the board can answer is what changes from the summertime now where the lawns are flourishing to the winter where they're going to die? What changes? What causes them to die?
Temperature.
Temp is not irrigation. It's not water. Just pure temp related, huh? Okay.
We're talking temp. As soon as we start getting into the 60s, you're going to start seeing it. It doesn't have to be 30s. You're going to start seeing the decline.
So to be clear, this 85,000 that you're proposing is not in the current budget.
That's
Gonna take
correct.
us a little over one.
Yeah, so
1%.
1-ish%, right?
1%.
1.1.
That is correct.
Single family homes are gonna go to the front.
Right, 1.1, right.
Mark, any questions online? No?
This is Dennis Lundgren again. I'd just like to commend Rich on his approach. I think it's very sound. I think it makes a lot of sense. He's done a lot of background work on this. And I don't like us to take the approach of ready, shoot, aim. It seems like we've done that on other areas. And I think we've got to go with founded, proven results before we even go 85,000. I think half of that would be more than you'd ever need for this first year.
Thank you for your input. Anybody else? Oh, that's not too bad. Jerry, do you have any comments?
No.
How about we wrap it up?
No, I would just say to what Tom said, Len, I watch the money very carefully to the extent we don't use the funds. they'd be rolled over like any other surplus would be rolled over. So we hesitate to not put enough in there because if we have to assess, it costs us $10,000. So we're wasting the cost of 1 or 2 homes if we have to go out. So you could look at, put a little bit more in. We don't use it, you roll it over. And you try to limit it to what we put in. Or you put too little and you have to spend more, you're throwing 2 houses down the drain with the cost to assess. So that's kind of the balance we're also thinking about.
It costs $10,000 to.
Because we got to invoice everyone, send something out. We pay first service, roughly $10 a home to do that.
$10 a door. Well, if we were only assessing single family home.
Yeah, but it depends where we need it.
Yeah, it's 10, the administration fee.
There's no reason for what to pay or how to pay it unless we're obligated to.
The answer, I was just asking for.
Got
it. Hey guys, Ed Young again. Renee, good work. It's obviously a huge problem for Florida. Searching for answers. We don't have all of them yet. Rich and Len, I think you gave really good guidance. For the single family homeowners to bear that cost without having clear answers is probably tough for them. If you put it in now and you don't spend it, how about giving the credit back to the single family homeowners that put the money in?
Well,
Instead of rolling it over, you know, we're trying to keep the quarry affordable. That seems to be getting harder and harder every year.
Trying to do what?
Keep the quarry affordable, right, to live here. And this one could be a really big problem, but getting the homework done, it's a lot easier to go forward with a solution if you know that the solution's going to work. So experimenting, I think, is a big challenge for everybody.
And just to clarify, we have to segregate single family versus common.
I understand that. I'm not debating that.
No. Oh, I thought you.
No, not at all. Hey, the houses have the grass. It's not that hard. Just tell the condo people they can't look at it. It's okay.
I just, you know.
I can't see it at night, so it's only a 12-hour problem, not a 24-hour. But I think until the homework is done, what you're doing now, you're doing homework, you're experimenting, you're looking for answers, you're looking at other communities for assessments. It's a lot easier to ask for money when you have a clear path that can be, you know, supported by the facts. And there's a clear path forward. So I would just echo, I don't know if 3 is the right one. It probably is better than maybe just 1, but let's get it done on a couple at a reasonable cost and then go forward from there.
So again, I just wanted to reiterate, we have 2 test areas now with 2 different methods.
One of which failed. So
that's
wait and see what happens.
That's why it's called a test too.
I understand. Pass all my tests either. I can guarantee.
By January, February, if this is a good installation. And I will also say that this is installed locally here. Like I said, we've looked at it at Esplanade, and I really encourage you to go over to Valencia Trails and take a look at it there. It's beautiful.
And that's all sort of blue. It was the same. Okay, good.
Yeah, so I mean, it takes the, we know it works well in our environment. It's been installed in other communities as well, but
well, again, thank you. Tough problem.
Yeah,
hard to solve. Looking for facts, being stingy with the money.
Gotcha.
Until we get the facts.
Gotcha.
That's my.
Gotten the 11 problematic lots.
So
Photos, or are we gonna be able to compare from one year to the next?
They're documented.
They're documented.
yeah. So the question for the audience, Len, is, you know, how did we document in January when we saw the 11 lawns and yeah, so there's photos and things like that.
Okay. Did you see Steve? Got it.
We ready to move on from that?
Yes.
I
Remove it.
mean, given the late hour,
Yeah, there's nothing in the general manager report. We can skip that. So we'll go.
we're gonna adjourn.
Committee initiatives or nothing else?
I think we.
Gary,
should-
leave to go watch the Ravens game?
It's.
We've lost half the audience.
Yeah.
What was that?
I said, did Jerry leave to go see the Ravens game?
Yes, he did. I think at this time, if you'd like to adjourn, you're more than welcome.
Okay, it is 6:35 and I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
I second it.
Second,
All right,
John.
we're adjourned.
All's in favor? Great.
Yes.
Yep.
I wasn't,
Tom, I'm
talking,
assuming-
but half the people are leaving.
Yeah.
Sure.
I'm glad you support that. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate your input.